Whether you're talking to a new or an experienced investor, one question that's going to come up in a conversation is this: how much exactly should I be budgeting for repairs? And that's a really hard question to answer because it's really dependent upon the specifics of the property. But there's a couple of pieces of guidance that we can offer investors around this idea of how much to budget for repairs. Now, just today, the day I'm recording this video, I was reading online at American Homes for Rent, which is a publicly traded company where they go out and they buy single-family investment properties, and then individuals can buy into this as a publicly traded company, and their guidance, their forecast is down. The reason for this forecast is down is one thing. They underestimated their expenses because of three things: their maintenance, repairs, and their turnovers. And those cost areas, which all fall under the maintenance idea really, increased or spiked, as they said, by 42%. They underestimated their budgeting for repairs because of turnover and maintenance by 42%. That's a big deal. These are the guys that are professionals. This is Wall Street. These are the guys that do this for a living. They have people that are hired that all they do 24/7 is budget these kinds of things. And they missed it by 42%. Now, if they can't get it right, how are you expected to get it right when you prepare a basic budget? Well, actually, I think you can do this easier than you think. So let me give you a couple pieces of guidance. Number one, as it relates to turnover costs, people tend to forget, investors tend to forget, that turnovers cost money. As a matter of fact, turnover is the biggest expense you will potentially incur as a landlord. So you want to have a significant amount of money budgeted. And I'll tell you how much in just a second. The other thing you wanted to be aware of is make sure that you're almost overestimating repair costs. We find typically investors will underestimate repair costs. They think they can get things done for cheaper, or they just don't think they will have to come up with those expenses. Every appliance that you have is going to need to be replaced at some point in time. Things do break, so never underestimate repair costs. Now, here's the recommendation we use on average. We say to budget 1 month worth of income for annualized repairs. So if your property is renting for $1,500 a month, it's a pretty safe budgeting bet to budget $1,500 annually for repair expenses. Now, are you going to hit that every month? Every year? No, of course not. Some years you may not spend a penny on repairs, and that's great, but other years you may spend twice that much. But on average, over time, and we've been doing this since 1989, over time you'll spend for an average property, on average, 1 month of rent per year on repairs. Now, obviously, if you have a brand new home, that number is going to be a little lower. If you've got a very old property, that may be a little bit higher. But this is a good baseline from which to start. Now, if you calculate this number on a percentage of income, 1 month's rent comes out to 8.3% of your annualized income. Because of course, we have 12 months in the year, 8.3%. So if you use 1 month of expenses, 1 month of rent for big expenses, for maintenance only, we're only talking maintenance, 8.3%. Now, here's what's interesting. Let's go back to the American Homes for Rent. They budgeted 6.1%. That was in their budget, 6.1%. What they found, their actual expenses as it relates to maintenance was 8.5%. Now, I can't help but just rub it in here a little bit, because if American Homes for Rent only would have called us, we would have told them that 8.3% is the number you need to be using, especially for a large portfolio of thousands and thousands of homes. They underestimated it. They said 6.1%. We know it's going to be around 8.3. That's what we've been saying. 8.3 is a safe amount. Now, a third piece of guidance is this: keep a reserve in place, because things are going to happen. Hot water heaters are going to go out, carpets are going to need to be replaced, painting's going to need to be redone, so keep a reserve on your property. We recommend a reserve equal to 3 months worth of rent. So if your property is renting for $1,000 a month, you need to have a reserve set aside of $3,000 to cover those expenses that may come up unanticipated that you're not prepared for. If you've got questions on this, on budgeting, on how to do it, on what you want to be aware of, on budgeting vacancies, there's a lot that goes into that. Feel free to give our office a call. We'd be more than happy to give you some information so that you don't end up spending more than you've budgeted.